should I really, you know, what you're talking about, if I was to tell you the truth, I haven't got a bloody clue, mate. And in terms of that, you know, what this technological knowledge that we understand now, you know, with quantum physics and where are we going to in the universe, and we know that there's universes upon universes upon universes, and it seems that, you know, humanity is fascinated by that, eh? Because, you know, we like to explore and discover, and I get lost in it all, and I go, I followed you, right? I followed you, and I went, okay, I'm getting it, you know, and you know, I mean, I could tell you, my husband chats about this stuff all the time, and I'm just like, oh God, where does he go? Because it's such a vast subject, you know, it's so vast that man understands such knowledge, and the question is that in this universe, maybe the animals and all the other life forms accept that the order is the way that it is. You know, they don't ruffle it. They sit within their own, you know, in their own sphere. You know, the animals really just don't notice us. We're just there, but they just walk past us because they're not even seeing us. You know, they're seeing their own, hey? And I go, and you look at it and you go, now what is different about that human being from all the other life forms that are here? And it's because that's part of our role, is to discover. Hey, we're absolutely bent on it. You know, our minds are trying to discover new things all the time. And if you talk to anybody, they're all busy discovering something. They're all going down one line trying to discover the detail of that. And we're driven to do it. You know, we can't stop doing it. You know, we open our eyes and we go, oh, what's that about? And I go, and why is that in the whole of the immensity of life, do we get the option to be able to understand it and wish for that understanding?
It's, what you're saying is very true. There's only one reality. There's only one universe.
Yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah.
This is reality.
Yeah.
Okay. During the Industrial Revolution, there was created a new way of life based on wage labor, so we would all be reliant upon the state in order to survive. And this being of this great global state keeps itself alive through propaganda. Propaganda is that the global state, or the state, understands everything, is responsible for everything, and is in control of everything. Do not think the state will do your thinking for you. As a result, there has been the dumbing them down system since the 70s. There has been, no one is allowed to investigate unless they are qualified, or else you are blacklisted and so forth. And this is where we are now. So that we have this addiction, we have this being that is our whole essence, to find knowledge. We're curious as hell, right? You know, want to figure everything out, okay? Because we're made that way. And yet, we're not allowed to think, okay? Or the information we're getting is all propaganda. This is the world we're in now. This is the collapse of that order, because a new order is on the way. But the knowledge won't be destroyed. It will still be there in the new form, that which has integrity, you know, that which has basic and fundamental virtues and moral rectitude. That will be there, because we're human beings. But it is a future that, you know, do not despair. Do not despair. The world has collapsed. Yes, it does that. You know, there's cycles of chaos and cycles of order, okay? And we have to take the knowledge and it has to go through the chaos in order to create new knowledge. So what I was talking with Te Wharihi about is that knowledge is rejuvenated. It is rejuvenated through the nothingness. That's a very deep subject within Māoridom, and it's the nothingness is called the black hole. Okay, which is the first time I've heard of, you know, indigenous knowledge knowing about black holes, but also knowing about the rejuvenation of knowledge. It has to be restructured. It has to be, you know, this is what we are going through. And through individual unity and by working together as a community, we'll survive, we'll do fine. Okay, provided certain fundamental principles are met. One of the principles are that we're all one. Okay, that knowledge is here for all of us. We're all different, we're all things like that. But it is through community building, through understanding education from a grassroots level, for example. These particular, you know, programs that we have and so forth, oh, now pretty freaking obvious, you know, about what's going on. Thank you.
And I think the thing that's fascinating for me is that, look at, you know, there is individuals that have had glimmers of light, and then the whole of humanity has followed them. And I go, so there's, you know, like in the society today, we all look at those people that have marvellous minds and can show us, and I always say, what is it? Is it discovery? Well, what discovery is to me is making the invisible visible to our eyes. And I go, so we've all got the tall poppies that we all look at and say, oh wow, I'd like to be like him, gosh, he's smart. And then I go, what would we see if we were all like that and we were unified in the search? Where would humanity go then?
Because the reason we are in this chaos is because of superiority. Feelings of superiority. Propaganda works because it makes people feel superior. It doesn't matter which side you're on, black, white, whichever. You thinking that you're superior in some way, but superiority breeds ignorance. Ignorance breeds superiority. If you do find knowledge, and you have knowledge of discovering something, it makes you humble. Knowledge breeds humility, and humility breeds knowledge, which is why when we're on the path of knowledge, it takes off exponentially. When we're on the path of superiority and ignorance, it decays exponentially. It falls off a cliff real fast, and that's why you see many structures within society that have absolutely no rationality to them all. And people were trying to figure out what's the plan. There isn't. It is absolute chaos. And if you think that they're being really stupid, believe me, you're correct. Okay? It is. There's no rationality to it at all because it's an economic system that is unsustainable. Yes?
Can I ask another question, please? This is
42. Yes.
All right. So you have an electron rolling around, and then you have a molecule with a bunch of electrons, and then you have planets circling around the sun.
Yes.
And then you have a galaxy with a whole bunch of things
Yes.
whirling around the center. And then possibly you have a universe with a bunch of different universes circling around something. What are your thoughts about the universe is circling around something and what the something is?
Okay, basically, it's very, very humorous. There's only one universe. Okay, it's infinite. And it's eternal. There was no Big Bang. Three things you gotta know. Dark matter doesn't exist. Dark matter doesn't exist. It's a scam. Secondly, the universe is not expanding. There was no Big Bang. And the third thing is that neutrinos travel at the speed of light. Okay, there is only one reality. We are in this infinite universe. And it's from the University of San Diego. They were saying and doing research knowing that the universe was spinning. The light that they received from distant galaxies and so forth was of such a nature that they knew the universe was spinning and was spinning at the speed of light. They couldn't figure it out. I thought that that was the most hilarious thing I had heard in a long time. A fairly intelligent high school student, probably a girl, could figure that out without any problem at all. So we look out. The universe seems to be accelerating outwardly. Perfect way of saying it is, because it's accelerating outwardly, it would be redshifted exactly as we see it. Okay, so it would explain the redshifting of the galaxy. The universe is rotating, like you said. But they can't figure it out because, it would be obvious as rotating one way and other ways, but there's no actual axis of rotation and other things like that. So what makes it work? Anyway, I'm sitting in a railroad car. There's a train station. And all of a sudden the train station starts taking off. What's happening?
Going backwards.
Yeah. Train station's not moving. What's moving? Iron. Universe isn't freaking spinning. What do you think's spinning? Universe isn't spinning. What must be spinning? Yeah. So, are we spinning? I don't know. The Earth is rotating. Does that have an effect? The Earth is going around the sun. That's another rotation. Does that have an effect? But remember, when the Earth, a gimbal, like a three-way gimbal on a sailing ship, when the way that these things are, right? So it's spinning one way, we have another axis spinning this way, and so forth. We're in the middle of this, Lord knows how many axes of spin all over the place. You're not going to see any order to it at all. It just looks in general like it's accelerating outwardly, which is exactly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
You're absolutely correct. The universe is spinning. But the universe is not spinning, we are. So we're rotating on our axis, and that has an effect. The Planck probe that looked at the background radiation it left the Earth's orbit, went around the sun, and it took background radiation, had a completely different results than ground-based, measurements of it, because we're spinning. We're not taking into account basically general relativity is affected by the rotation of anything. Spinning bodies, Einstein did talk about it when there is a metric for spinning bodies and so forth. Spinning bodies are blue shifted, for example. Light from a spinning body is blue shifted and so forth. Various other things. So if you're on the spinning body, light would look red shifted as it's coming to you. But he has done that. But anyway, that's one of the things that you have. We're going around the sun is going around the galaxy and Andromeda, galaxy M31, we're rotating around each other at a horrendous speed. We got no idea how fast we're going. We're hawking, okay? And we could be, we're moving very close to the speed of light according to non-spinning bodies and things like that. So all of that is causing, alterations in our clocks, rulers, and various different things like that we're seeing. So one of the reasons we look and see that we have this idea of an expanding or even accelerating universe as well. It was Jonathan Wheeler that said that if the universe was actually accelerating outwardly, if you took the divergence of the expanding vector field, instantly it can't be physically expanding. And that's sorry.
Question.
Yes.
Maybe we have this
Please.
one question, Vera, and then we might wrap up and give Bruce a chance to have go too. And the rest of us to digest.
I'm just curious, knowledge, whether, you see knowledge has hard knowledge or soft knowledge. And certainly mathematics is to me is hard knowledge.
Okay.
Right. And would be do you think it would be interesting if you may develop a mathematical modeling and explaining how different ideology connecting to different political systems, how that will make a life, people living on this earth better or
Yes.
worse.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was working with the RCMP on the National Task Force to do that. And that is a mathematics that uses entity relationship diagrams. And we have an entity that is inside a rectangle. Okay, so we put something that's in there like address. Okay. Or let's say your ideology has a certain structure to it in the relationship between entities. And by looking at that diagram, we can see things in the structure that is given to us by the diagram itself. So it's not a linear way of looking at things algebraically, that if this happens, then this happens, so forth. It's more, it's a type of mathematics that is more a picture of what's happening.
Yeah, I guess because we have such a long history already.
Yes.
Human being, we have about, if you say political history, we may have about 5,000 years.
Yes.
Human beings are very intelligent and
Yes.
explore things, discover things. So we already experiment with so many different political systems
Yes.
based on different ideology,
Yes.
and that has clear different consequence.
Yes, yes,
People live
definitely.
very different lives. So I guess if you use mathematical modeling, whether with, because to me mathematical modeling, people probably trust it more, rather than we argue with the
Yes.
soft knowledge, emotional argument.
Yes.
So if we can use mathematics to say, here, this system
Yes,
created this, this life, and this system created this life, and this system created this kind of chaos. How
yes,
many people die because of this system?
yes.
Then I guess it's more convincing. I don't know. And that, I guess that also you need to involve lots of other knowledge, like
Yes.
economics, finance.
Yeah, entity relationship
Military.
diagrams cover a massive
Yeah.
amount of stuff that
Yes.
you can throw into it.
Yes.
And it's not, it's a mathematical structure that is designed so that people who don't understand the mathematics can participate in the discussion and the structure of the model. Okay, so people with philosophy can come in and so on. We were using, trying to get a bunch of cops, right? You gotta be careful because they all have guns and pepper spray. But anyway, you're dealing with a mathematical model to create, what it is. So we've gone so far as to say there are rules of governance. Okay, we'll talk about rules of governance. We're talking about different governance. And the rules of governance are, you can't have law and order without popular support. You can't have popular support without access to justice. And you cannot have access to justice without law and order. So if there is a chaos, don't expect law and order. If you're going to have a revolution and overthrow the government, don't expect access to justice. You've thrown that out, okay? I find this interesting in looking at Chinese history, okay? Where there is the concept of chaos and order, And usually the bureaucracy lacks integrity. And it's this lack of integrity that causes the populace not to have access to justice, and it decays, okay? And then we end up with chaos until someone can come in and establish some sense of order and access to justice. And then, so a different dynasty then continues. So you can't have a sustainable system without integrity. It keeps a bridge up, the integrity of the bridge, okay? Bridge will collapse because it doesn't have any integrity. So you can't have a sustainable system without integrity. You can't have integrity without accountability. So if you get a bureaucratic system that has no accountability, it's going to get corrupt real quick, okay? So you can't have accountability without transparency, okay? And then you can have all the transparency in the world, but without enforcement, you're who? So we see a situation within the United States, and we have all the transparency you could imagine. Everybody knows it's corrupt as sin and, barbaric, but there's no enforcement to the Constitution. That's why the Constitution has collapsed, because it has no enforcement. So that's the mathematical model that we came up with. And I think it's not bad, okay? It's got a linear part and it's got a sort of circular part. But yes, it is possible to take a look and I think through entity relationship diagrams, following certain rules, you can reach a universality of studying governance in different economic systems, different so forth. And you can see, well, this is gonna collapse and this won't. For example, you have to redistribute your wealth to the lowest echelon of society if you're gonna go broke. That's a pretty common, economic law that's throughout all your different economic systems.
Bruce, thank you so much.
I've got to
Can
shut
I
up,
just
I'm
capitalize on my role as seeing this.
Sure,
evening
go for it, I'm not
And
gonna
ask
stop you.
one, the jug's on the way, by the way, the jug's about to boil,
Okay.
but.
Do you want me to kill some more time? I can.
No, this is my question, this is my question.
Question
It's the
42.
last question
Yeah.
and you've got 5 minutes
Okay.
to answer.
That might be
Okay.
interesting.
What attracted someone like you
Yeah.
to Baha'i faith?
Oh, God.
Sounds wonderful.
my wife
Oh,
I'm
not gonna argue. You wanna tell me how Roxy came up with Roxy's statement that the universe is a blueprint and the blueprint of the universe is mathematics? How the hell she came up with that? I don't know. Whatever you do, girl, yeah, I'm on your side. That's pretty much it.
Well, you're a very wise man.
Oh, you keep right on believing that. You did just fine. Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good answer. Your
Yeah.
wife decided to become a Baha'i, so.
Yeah, women are smarter than men, so.
that's-
yeah.
they'll-
Knowledge,
they'll-
that's another thing, knowledge is female, have you heard that part? No. We look at this idea of the male and the female, right? But you see, the female has eggs. Men don't. That's your major difference right there. So if something is to be regenerated, it has to come from the female. Can't come from the male, they don't have eggs.
For us.
Right? So like, our role as male and is a different role than the role of the female, which is in the establishment of matrons, okay, within a society is like that, looking after the kids, raising kids, education and so forth, and other things like that, that is this female role. What do the men do? Men defend, okay, men protect, men provide.
But you look at animals,
And
where the
pro-
male actually looks after the children, looks
Yes.
after the babies and,
Yeah.
and so it's.
Men disagree with their wives, if they're incredibly brave. But basically, there is a dichotomy because we cannot have, knowledge cannot exist if it's homogenic. Okay, if there's only one type of knowledge, which is female, it's not going to advance. So the female basically created the male out of herself, which was not her, which was then male, which is not female, okay, on certain parts. A lot of parts, of course, are similar. And that's where we see biologically, where we see through evolution and stuff, where we, have single cell organisms and so forth, they don't evolve very quickly. They're last billion years, they're all the same as what we started with, right? But the moment we have, heterogeneous knowledge, through reproduction and so forth, through male and female, evolution takes off like a rocket.
Absolutely.
Because heterogeneous knowledge will advance us, homogeneous knowledge will not. And that's why we see the collapse of a homogeneous knowledge within a particular society that denies knowledge from anything else. That's why it's so important to have many different cultures. It's why it's so important to have different epistemologies and different forms of knowledge that come to us. New Zealand is blessed by having knowledge and knowledge.
We see it's
Yeah, I think he answered his own question in this whole discussion, because you're basically talking about unity paradigm.
Unity
So
and
how can he not
diversity.
be a behind without talking, without his understanding of the universe and the essential nature of everything being connected?
I was simplifying the whole
So
question.
he's answered it all.
Yeah.
You just have to,
I just have to figure out what was the question.
you just have to listen and you can see why he's a behind.
Okay, well, thanks very much. We can carry on. This is a hard discussion to stop, but look, there's something calling us in the other room now, so